Welcome to World Events in the Bible. I'm Brandon T. Ward. Hey, today we're going to talk about how to use Bible study tools. Some of the tools that I've used over the years that I've enjoyed. Let me break them down for you. The Companion Bible, it's a King James Bible. The next one we'll talk about is a Strong's Exhaustive Concordance, Smith's Bible Dictionary, Green's Interlinear Bible, and then we'll talk about some Bible study software for your computer, tablet, or smartphone. All right, now the Companion Bible, it is a study Bible, and it helps you understand the ancient languages. Not that you're going to need to dive into that, but it helps you understand. Sometimes there may be a word that you don't quite understand, and chances are that the notes in the side column will help you out with that. There's marginal notes that concern Scripture, comparing Scripture to other Scriptures, referencing, sometimes a verse is mentioned in, say, Book of Genesis, and maybe it's mentioned in Matthew, for example. It'll also give you some notes on history and just general translations. So I want to show you an example here. So I'm going to open up my Bible let's just go to the beginning, Genesis chapter 1. Let's read the first verse. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Everybody knows that one probably by heart, right? So he created it in the beginning. And let's read this second verse here. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. So now when you first read the first verse, God created the heaven and earth, okay? And then the next one says, and the earth was without form, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. I mean, doesn't that strike you as a little bit odd? God created the earth, but then it says it was without form. So, I mean, God created the earth like a big old mess or something? I mean, that's what it reads in the English, but it doesn't sound right, does it? I mean, have you ever heard of a contractor going to build a house like as a big old mess? And then when he was done building it and as a big old mess, he took it apart and then refixed it and made it a real house? Nobody does that. They would have been kicked off the job, right? Of course. And you think God created the earth a mess? No way. So look at this word here, verse 2 here in this Companion Bible, and you see the little circle we have next to was. So this is telling you that there's actually some notes. That's why this is a study Bible. So then we go down here, and you find the word was in the column, and it will explain that it means became. And when you look up that word was in your Strong's Concordance, the word can mean became. So the earth became without form and void. Not that it was, because was implies that it was created that way. There's no way God created a big mess, and the Bible will actually document it. We're going to get there. So you see Dr. Bollinger put this note in here for you to kind of help you out in your studies. And if you look down over across on verse 2 there's another little circle next to without form. That means there's another note for us to go check it out. So let's do that. We go down here on the margin, the column there, and in bold, it says without form equals waste. And that's what it is. Without form means waste, desolate, ruin. I mean, it's of nothing. There's nothing to it. God didn't create it that way. So again, just like a contractor wouldn't build a house as a big old mess and then go back and fix it and create it right the second time. That doesn't make any sense. So you can double check this idea and this thought here. And look, we have some more notes. If we look down, we see another note concerning Isaiah 45:18. So let's jump over there. Let's go see what Isaiah 45:18 has to say. And it reads, "For thus saith the Lord." So this is God talking here, okay? "That created the heavens, God himself that formed the earth and made it. He hath established it. He created it not in vain." Vain means empty, void, destroyed. It's the same word as was in Genesis chapter 1, verse 2 that we just read. So it says, he created it not in vain. God didn't create it void and formless. He formed it to be inhabited. I am the Lord, and there is none else. So you see right there, that's why I say you have to use common sense and some logic when you study the Bible. Because otherwise there would be a contradiction here. If Genesis 1:2, if the word truly was that, and the was without form, the earth was without form, well, over here in Isaiah chapter 45, it's telling us the exact opposite. And there is no contradictions in the Bible. If we found a contradiction and it was in the manuscripts that way, then the Bible would be a lie. And it's not a lie. It is just a translator's put the wrong word in the Bible. It's not a big deal. You can double check it in the Strong's Concordance. You just look up the word there yourself, and then we just read it for ourselves. God says, I created the earth to be inhabited. He didn't create it formless and void. He even said that. So we got that. We got that. The other thing, when you're reading the King James Bible, other versions of the Bible too, I just happen to use one. So when you see the words in italic, when it's there, that means it was added. They added it to make the sentence structure flow in the English language. Okay, not anything bad, just kind of a note there for you. The next thing let's talk about is bad translation examples. And actually, we're going to need this. This is another reason why you need a study Bible. It's good to have. It helps you out. And I'm going to show you why. So Matthew chapter 5, verse 44. This is how it actually reads. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. Does that sound right? Not really. I mean, that's what it said. But what you have to understand is the King James Bible was a revision of other past Bibles. And the scholars certainly use manuscripts for the King James Bible. But the set of manuscripts they used were from roughly the 14 to 1500s. They're not that old. I mean, they put the King James Bible originally together in the year 1611. So in the mid-1800s, there were many finds, like biblical manuscript finds, that just revolutionized everything. One of the oldest, most complete Bibles is 1,600 years old. The manuscripts are 1,600 years old. And newer versions of the Bible have been based on those because they're older, obviously, and they're more accurate. I mean, you had a bunch of people writing manuscripts that form the books of our Bible. And so scholars always go to the oldest one. We can trust those ones more and rely on them. And so my point here is this verse in Matthew, it actually doesn't say that. Some of this text was added. This is how it actually reads. And newer versions of the Bible will have it this way. Even versions of the Bible in the late 1800s have it this way. And it is, but I say unto you, love your enemies and pray for them that persecute you. That's it. All this, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, which despitefully use you, that was all added. So these are good things to know. And you wouldn't know that normally as you're reading this unless you had this study Bible here. Because you'll see under verse 44, we have that little circle again next to bless them that curse you. And then you look over here in the side column and it says bless them, ... hate you. This clause is omitted by all the critical Greek texts. All the critical ones, the most important ones. It doesn't have it in there because somebody came along and added it later on. That's why people who dive into the manuscripts is such an important process and job, because it's a big responsibility. Some people over the years in the manuscripts made mistakes that can cause confusion. Sometimes extra things got added like that here. And it's good to have this type of a study Bible. It helps you understand that and kind of put things in perspective a little bit for you. Let's see here. Oh yeah, that's going to jump us over to some appendixes in here. There's actually 198 appendixes in this Bible. Let's go over and discuss one of those here. The 50th one. Now as you see here, it shows from the creation to the flood. And there's Appendix 50. It is just loaded with page after page of information. When Adam was born, his death, and it'll take you to Moses' time and Noah's time and shows you birth dates, and it cites scripture as well, so you understand that he's just, the author of the study Bible isn't just making things up as he went. So it's really nice to be able to have that, because sometimes it's tough figuring those things out. You have to do a lot of homework. So if you have this, it's kind of a lot of homework has been done. The Bible verses are there that you can go double check to make sure it's correct. And so you want to do that. But you got Daniel in here, the captivity of them in Babylon and everything. So it's really, really nice. I like that one. There's another one in here I want to call your attention to as well. It's Appendix 54 and is about the Moabite stone. me jump over there. The reason I like this one so much is because it helps document that the Bible is true by a non-biblical literature. And in here, it will explain that the king of Moab, there's this stone, it's actually in the museum, you can go see and certainly find pictures for. I'll go online and you can see it. It's called the Moabite stone, and it is a history of Moab's basically rebellion against Israel and everything like that, which is tied rather to the Book of Kings. The Book of Kings covers the same exact event as the Moabite stone discusses. So there's more proof and evidence of God's word that being real by multiple cultures. This is just one example. There is hundreds and thousands of examples like this that you can find out there. People will tell you that the Bible and the stories in it aren't found in history, and they are. They are. I've documented it to myself so many times and just to show other people. So it's out there. You just have to be willing to go look it up. The next thing let's get into is the Strong's Concordance. So this book is really good. Here, let me show you here. Strong's Concordance. It's a great book. If there's maybe there's a verse you're trying to find and you just can't remember where it is in the Bible, but you can remember a word, then you would just look up the word in this book here, and it will show you all the verses where the word is. So if we were looking up a verse about Jesus, you look up Jesus in there. It's alphabetized, and then you could find the verse that way. We're going to give you an example here. But the primary purpose of it is to check out the translation of a word, just like we were talking about in Genesis chapter 1, verse 2, is the word was there, so you could look it up in this. We're not going to look up that word. You can do that on that one on your own. We actually have a Bible study that covers all of that as well. You can find on our website. Let's see. Let's look up the word. We're going to look up the word earth as used in Genesis chapter 7, verse 4. All right, earth. So as you see here in the concordance we got here, I mean, the word earth is used a ton of times. I mean, really, just kind of a couple pages worth, and it shows you each time. So this GE is Genesis 1:1, means chapter 1, verse 1. And we look over, it says, God created the heaven and it has an E because the word we have is earth. And it says it's 776. So that tells you it will be found in the Hebrew dictionary because it's just a standard font. It's not italicized. If it was italicized, it'd be in the Greek. So that's all contained in here. We'll get to it. And so we want to look for Genesis 7:4. So we're just going to kind of thumb our finger down here. And then here it is. Here's chapter 7, Genesis 7, verse 4. It says, I will cause it to rain upon and it's earth. And so you're like, oh, that's the verse I'm looking for. Kind of gives you a little bit of the verse, makes it kind of nice. And we see that it's word 776. So we just jump over here to 776. Show that to you. And you see that these characters, this is Hebrew writing. And we have the word is aretz. And now this is going to give us a definition of it because God says that he sent a flood on the earth and everything. That's kind of what we're looking at, right? So what does the word earth mean? That's what we're trying to figure out. That's why we're doing this. And it says it is probably means to be firm, the earth, at large or partivally, a land. That means partially land. It also means common, country, like the old countryside, earth, even field, ground, land, nations, way, wilderness, and finally world. So you could see the word earth, it means a lot of different things. And most of the time, it doesn't mean the world, the whole world, the whole earth and the globe in that sense. It just means a chunk of land, maybe it was where you lived. And so you say, hey, this is my earth. Sometimes farmers, when they till the ground, they say, I tilled the earth. And they did. It doesn't mean he tilled the whole earth though, right? Just where he was, the land he knows, or maybe the land he is responsible for. So that will help you with that. And it's important to use something like this because sometimes the translators kind of had their own beliefs on how things should be in the Bible. So it's kind of a good way to double check the translation and everything. And especially if you're having a hard time understanding something sometimes the way it's worded, just like we found in Genesis 1:2, says that the world The earth was without form, but it doesn't make any sense. And Isaiah 45:18, that fixed it for us, and now we understand. God didn't create it a mess. It became that way. Why did it become that way? We have a Bible study on that too. The next one we'd like to get into is the Smith's Bible Dictionary. This is great to help you understand a topic or dive into a word, give you a little bit more meaning. So we're going to look up the word tares. How about that? So I'll just flip this open here and let's take a look at the word tares. Sometimes they give you a little picture like what we have here, and it gives us a little bit of explanation. So let's read just a little bit here. It says, there can be little doubt that the zizana, just means grain, of the parable in Matthew 13:25 denotes the weed called darnel. Now you remember that parable that Jesus gave you. It says that the wheat are the children of God, but someone came behind him and sowed these tares, this darnel, which is the wicked one. Jesus ends up telling you that parable if you read it. Well, who's the wicked one? It's Satan. So he's telling us that there's wheat that was sowed by God, and there's these tares that are sowed by the devil. And let's keep reading here. It says, why is that important? Let's read. It'll help us here. The darnel, before it comes into ear, that means before it's ripe, is very similar in appearance to wheat. Hence the command that the zizana should be left to the harvest. And that was Jesus' command, because the disciples said, hey, well, we're going to go uproot this stuff and take it out of here. And Jesus said, no, you're not, because you're going to take some of the wheat with you when you do. You're going to harm some of God's children when you try to remove Satan's children. That's what he's talking about. And then check this out down here. Let's skip down. It says, even the farmers who in this country generally weed their fields do not attempt to separate the one from the other. And it says, the grains of the L. temulatum, if eaten, produce convulsions and even death. So you see, it's a vile, poisonous seed, this darnel that it produced. But why they grow in the field? Hey, they all look the same. Not until the harvest can you tell the difference. And you know what Jesus is going to do with those darnels, those tares? When he returns, his angels are going to gather them, burnt in bundles. He's going to put them in the fire. That's it. So you want to, when Jesus tells you parables and everything, he wants you to dive into it. He spoke in parables because it was not meant for everyone to understand. So when you're reading that parable, if you're having a hard time understanding why he is talking about tares, the Smith Bible Dictionary would help you understand that. Let's also take a look at the Green's Interlinear Bible. So this is the one I have. It's actually a 4-volume set. I'm just going to show you one. You can get, this is an old version. I usually buy old books because you can save money on them, and you got to be careful for some of the new versions of things. I've kind of seen some of the stuff change in it from time to time. And this is so good because, as you can see here, you can compare how the English translation is to the ancient translation, or to the ancient text, better said. So as you can see here, we have the Hebrew characters, and then directly underneath of it, we have the English translation, which is very cool. We actually use this for one of our Bible studies called Did We All Come from Adam and Eve? And it's the only way to prove that the 6th-day creation of mankind is separate from Adam and Eve, who were formed after the Sabbath day. But the only way you could figure it out is actually by diving into the manuscripts. So you can properly understand the translation of the word man there. There's a big difference when you understand the Hebrew. We pointed that out in the Bible study. Again, it is, did we all come from Adam and Eve? And of course we did not, just for the record, but I encourage you to check out that study. But that's great. This is what this book is for. Most probably your average Christian wouldn't need a book like this. This is more for like teachers and those type of things, But if you would like to dive in, hey, by all means, go get one, Let's see. It's obviously not very easy to read, so I don't recommend it for study per se like that, unless you're really trying to dive in on something. The next thing I'd like to get into is some Bible software. Now, one of the ones I use is called eSword, and you can get it for your Windows computer, your Macintosh, tablet, smartphone, whatever you like. It's very affordable. In some cases, it'll be free, depending on what operating system you have. So let's go take a look at that. All right, so this is the Bible study software that we use, eSword. This is a really nice tool. If you can't afford all the books that we discussed already, you can use this tool to kind of help you out with that. So one example here, you can use, there's various versions of the Bible that you can get. You can download. Some of them cost, some of them are free. The King James Bible is just free, obviously. One of the things I like about this is you see this King James Plus here. If we just click that, it just instantly transforms all the Bible verses and adds the Strong's Concordance numbers. So if we just randomly click on a word here like beast, we see it is word G2342 in the Strong's Concordance. You just click it and right away, it just pops open and it tells you what the word means, some of the other definitions for it. And it will show you also, sometimes it will dive in to find like a root word or something like that. And you could just click on it and it will bring it over into this window over here and show you where that word comes from, where the word beast comes from, and how it's tied together. So it's really nice. It's the same experience that you would get in a Strong's Concordance, but you kind of get it on the computer so you can kind of work a little bit faster. So we'll just put it right back to King James Bible there. We're going to do a quick search here. There's something else I want to show you. I'm not going to go in depth on this tool or anything. I just kind of want to show you how you can use it to supplement if you don't have the books that we've discussed. Okay, so we have the word Jehovah here. We're just going to do a search, and you see it's found 4 times in the King James Bible. And thing I want to show you here is this next middle section here, and you can turn off these sections that you see here if this is a little too distracting for you. But in the center column right here, you see it says E.W. Bullinger. So I've installed a module that has the Companion Bible, and so he has notes here. And these notes are good and everything, but don't use them as replacement for the Companion Bible book. Somebody put these notes in here, and I have found where the notes are not actually accurate as to what the Companion Bible actually has. So be on alert for that. Another thing is if we just click on Psalms 83:18 here, is Bullinger is a man just like we all are, and he made mistakes. So you see the word Jehovah, his marginal notes here says 1 of 3 places in the authorized version, where God's name is. Well, we just saw that it was actually 4 times, not 3. No big deal, but I just want to point that out to you, that some mistakes were made by him, and that was just no big deal on the mistake there. If you click Isaiah 12:2, then you'll see Jehovah, 1 of 4 passages. So you see in one instance it says 3, another instance it says 4. So those were just kind of very small mistakes, but there is some stuff in there that, remember, when you're looking at the Companion Bible and the notes, it's not gospel. Stick with the Bible, but use his notes to kind of help guide you sometimes. And as you see, like here in this piece of software where Dr. Bullinger has his notes, there's also some Bible verses that he actually put in there. And so if you're using the software, you just click it and it will tell you what the verse means right there, which makes it really nice. And you see this Psalms 83:18 is actually a link. So if you click that, then it will just bring you over in this Bible study in the Bible window here, right to that verse. So it makes it pretty nice. Now it all comes with a built-in Smith's Bible Dictionary, as you'll see here. So we just type in whatever word. We use tear as an example, so we'll just do that again. So you just type it in there and you see it just brings it all up on screen. So it makes it really nice. You don't have to be connected to the internet to make any of this happen. Once you download the various modules, then no big deal there. If you click this little menu right here, then you'll see it brings up actually the entire Smith's Bible Dictionary, alphabetical order, and you can kind of dive into this. Let's just click on Able, and just to show you and see, all of a sudden it brings up Able here in this window. And again, you have some Bible verses that populated, and you can click those and dive into it and go for a deeper dive. So it makes it really nice. Some other things that I like about this tool is this cross-ref right here. It is cross-references. So I'm just going to click that and automatically will bring up some various Bible verses that Psalms 83:18 is kind of referencing. According to the Bible study, according to the eSword publisher anyway. Sometimes you may find some stuff that's not quite related, but I think you're going to find that no matter what Bible you pick up, depending on how somebody feels about a verse. Some other things you can do here or click back is comparison. So depending on what Bible versions that you have installed on here, you downloaded, then if you could compare, it will actually compare the verse that you were on among all of them. So the Authorized Standard, the ESV Bible, you see, and if I go down here, here's King James Plus, so that's kind of nice. And then you can also do Parallel Bible, and you'll see King James Version, King James Plus, ASV for Psalms 83. So it makes it really nice. I don't use that feature that often, but it's there. Some other things, the last couple things I wanted to touch on here real quick is there is the ability to take notes and highlight verses. So if we click on any old verse here and you right click on the verse, then you see you could bookmark it, you can highlight it with different highlighters, and now I named these. These are just names I put on there, but it will help you group a thought. So like the beginning when I was working on the study, I went ahead and highlighted verses. Let's just highlight this one for the heck of it. And you see it turns it orange. So then when you're scrolling through here, you'll find your verses, or you can go, let's see, highlighted verses, and then it will bring up all the verses that you've highlighted a certain color, kind of help you out, keep things on track for you. I'm just gonna go ahead and remove this one here. The other thing you can do aside from highlighting is just taking notes. So you can place a general note down here. This is my note. And you can save that, and then you get that little notepad and their pencil right there. And if you go over here, you'll notice that it says Psalms 83:13 is now one of our notes. So if I click on any of these are notes that I've just placed in on these Bible verses, and if I click it there, it's just going to appear whatever the note is right down here in the window, which makes it nice because then you can take notes and come back and reference them later, and it just helps you put your studies together. I don't use this a whole lot for that type of thing. For my purpose, I will write the Bible studies and I post them on our website, and that kind of helps me. That's kind of my notes. But this may help you depending on how you do your studies and everything. So that's just a quick general overview of it. Right down here in this bottom corner, before I jump out of here, you can also put any Strong's Concordance word, and then it will just pop it up. So Hebrew 1961, and we punch that in there. This is the word was in Genesis, the first chapter of Genesis, where we understand the word means became. So this makes it really nice. You have all these tools at your hand just within a piece of software, in case you can't afford the books or something like that, or maybe just in a pinch you want to just check something out without pulling out your book. So hey, I hope this is helpful. Thank you so much. All right, I think that'll kind of cover the Bible study software there. So let's kind of summarize what we covered here. We have the Companion Bible, which is a study Bible that we learned about, and there's some notes in there that will help you understand sometimes when there's something confusing maybe about the translation of a word. It's really good for that. We have the Strong's Exhaustive Concordance. It will help you understand the translation of a word. You can go take a word in your English Bible and look it up to see what are some of the meanings of that word. What else could it mean? Sometimes you have to do that. The Smith's Bible Dictionary. Hey, you can dive in on a topic and help you understand a little bit more, get a little bit more historical insight. Very good to help you with your studies. The Green's Interlinear Bible, we took a look at that. It's kind of more for your scholars or people who are doing some teaching, so you can kind of double check the English translation. That's the primary purpose there. Rarely needed, but it can be useful depending on what you're doing. And then of course we covered some Bible study software, the eSword there. So hey, I hope this helped you out, and I'd like to thank you so much for joining us.